Welcome to Dynamics of Dialogue, and today we are having a really interesting conversation. The topic is pleasure principle. We are talking about sex. We're going to try to get it in. I'm just saying, I think that we make it look so dirty, right? Mm-hmm. And sex is not a dirty thing. Really, whether you're a single person and you're having sex with yourself, it's all constructive. That will help you foster self-love for yourself, right? And if you're in a relationship, it can bring you closer. It is so important. And I think that today a lot of couples struggle with that. So we have Tekesha Smith here, along with Kisha Perry, beautiful ones, and Mad Queen and Mad Queen Media. And today we are talking about the pleasure principle. And we got a little sample for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the conversation. Now, Kisha, since she walked in the door with this thing, I've been interested in this. So talk to me. First of all, talk to me a little bit about the work that you do with couples and the significance of that. What does that mean?
So sometimes couples will come in and they are experiencing multiple disconnects. And of course, intimacy and sex is usually one of them. And one of the things I help them do is to rebuild and to find their way back to that. And that does take time. It does require trust. And if trust is gone, we have to go back and unfold and unpack those layers, work on building trust, and then we can get into intimacy, because sex is more than just a physical component.
Absolutely.
It's an intimacy is key in that. And there's multiple ways to be intimate involving sex, and that's the beauty of this. And sometimes depending on the age of the woman or maybe the trauma, what's happened, it's a matter of stimulating certain areas of the body, particularly the clitoris. So if the clitoris is hid, if it's numb, if there's been some trauma to it, we introduce toys into the therapy sessions. Now, they don't actively role play, or not role play, but become undressed
in the
session. But we pull out pictures. We do have these available during the session, because a lot of people need to be taught on how to pleasure themselves, and then how to use these toys. So it's a teaching moment, really for both men and both for women.
It's as a teaching moment. And when you said that about how a lot of men and women need to be taught, I just I don't mean to be overly heavy, right? But when we think about people that have experienced the trauma, I think that I can see where that would be difficult, connecting with yourself.
Yeah,
and that way, touching yourself and being intimate, because that your early experiences were not good, or
not
good,
or egregious or traumatizing. And how can you teach someone else how to please you if you don't know how to please yourself?
Yeah.
You can't. Can't. So that was something that I was fortunate enough I have a partner where we can explore, and it takes time to explore, because there's still boundaries.
Yes.
And, you got to have safe words and everything else. So I never advise people to focus on pleasing the other person. Those sessions are about you. You're pleasing yourself first, and how to do that and where to start. I'm finding that a lot of women don't know where their G-spot or erogenous zones are, because we've been taught on a mundane routine position and what you're supposed to do, and these porn movies on what should feel good to us. We've been told what should feel good to us, when in actuality it doesn't.
Right. So let me ask the question. Okay, because I don't know. I mean, right? We're doing candid. This is
a raw
sex
conversation.
Talk, right? When did everybody first find their G-spot? Do you remember how old you are? Like when you knew that's it, right there.
Wait a minute, that's it. This is something new.
I was 22.
22?
Oh, you're
22.
22? What about?
Yeah.
I was 30.
30?
After I got divorced.
After you got divorced. For me too. Actually, I want to say I was in my probably about 38.
Okay. So
by the time
late 30s?
Yeah, in my late 30s.
It was after I was around 31, 32. Yeah. Around that time.
Wow. So I kind of want to get into some of these.
And when I found it. Woo.
Right.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's just nothing like it. It just.
It's a next level.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of high, and it keeps you going. And of course, it gets all those
euphoric
hormones.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you've taken something.
Right? Because you have.
Right.
You've taken some D, dog.
Yes. The good
Okay,
D.
right. Okay.
A good D. That's why we call this. So you've got something here, and this
Yes.
looks so interesting, and I want to talk about it. Body and soul.
Body and soul, because it touches your body and your soul.
Okay, all right.
And I've gotten pretty good reviews on this from clients and even from girlfriends. We have these conversations, and I want to make sure I hold this up so people can see what this looks like. And it looks like, something as simple as this. Some people call it like a magical little wand or something, or they each have their own nickname for it. Couples may have like nicknames for their
I
toys.
just want to call it Frank for some reason.
Looks like a Frank.
That just looks like a Frank.
Frank.
Like I should call it Frank.
Yeah. And I'm going to pass this around because I want you guys to feel it. Okay. And then we're going to turn it on so you can feel the vibrations. Yep. And it's soft. It's waterproof. Okay. So you can get creative in the bed and outside of the bed, and
Nice
in the pool,
texture.
in the shower.
Nice,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like it's durable. Like you wouldn't run the risk of any.
No, and it's
Yeah.
easy to clean.
Yeah,
Real easy
it
to
looks-
clean. So remember, ladies and gents, make sure you clean your toys when you're
Please
finished
do.
with them. Okay, you have them in like a little special spot or a special sleeve. Sometimes I had a last client. She said she keeps her Frank in the Crown Royal bag. And this comes in about 4 speeds. Usually they come anywhere from definitely more than 2, but 3 to 4 speeds. And they're operated by battery. So this is the first speed, and you can feel it and feel the tip. And 1 is pretty intense, but by the time you're up to 4,
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, I think most people say they're rising off the bed.
That's real nice.
Right? Wait, is this 4?
No, that's 1.
That's one.
Right.
I hear it.
Wait, what's 4? I want to see 4.
So,
Wait,
let
this
me
is a
show you.
Let me see
demonstration.
4.
I
I
need
want
to see 4.
Oh, that's
You
2.
hit 2,
Oh man.
3, and then okay, so it's 3.
3, okay.
Okay, I
it's
was about to say it get worse
Yes.
than that.
And its purpose is really to stimulate the clitoris.
Yeah.
And that's usually, we can have, there's 3 types of orgasm. You can have a clitoris orgasm, a uterine orgasm, or both. Yeah, that's pretty intense.
That's
isn't it?
pretty intense. That's
pretty
did you-
intense. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay then. All right. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, you see that?
On that
Look,
note,
look. Okay.
let me see what 3 is.
Yeah, let me feel 3. And it's soft. You feel how soft it is. So you don't have something that's rugged or teeth, that can get a little aggressive at times. Yeah, that's down there in that very sensitive, that very sensitive spot. And that's a good place. I tell women to put it here or put it there, like where you just put it at, and then give me your feedback and tell me. And the fun part about going to the sex shop is that you get to explore. They have toys that's out on the floor.
So let me ask this. So what happens when you have a partner that's not interested in exploring? Like for me, I love to, because to me, having the ability to explore my partner's body is freedom. It's trust. It's intimacy. It's one of the most intimate acts there is, right? Just to have that freedom. And I think a lot of men feel comfortable with exploring a woman in that way, but they don't feel comfortable with having their own bodies explored that way. So, what do you suggest for a scenario like that? And I'm encouraging you to.
For me, it's important to have dialogue. Excuse me. It's important to have dialogue, have conversation about it. There may be some trust issues because maybe he has allowed someone to explore before and they violated the boundaries.
Gotcha.
And so you have to, and that's come up in quite a few sessions. With couples, and it's like, wow, and the partner will stay. Oh, I didn't know that,
because they didn't have conversation.
They did not have conversation. Communication, dialogue is key if you're going to be allowed to explore on me. Like hashtag that is a must. You can't get around that.
Communication is key if you're going to be allowed to explore on me. Right. Yeah. And I think that goes both ways, because I know
Absolutely.
I've had experiences where I've been with a partner that wanted to experiment, and they just kind of want to throw it on you last minute and
No.
trust me.
Yeah. No, because it's so intimate. You think about it. Somebody is exploring you, and they're learning you, and they're finding your erogenous zones and what makes you tick and what doesn't. And that's very personal.
Yes.
So I have to be able to trust you with that, and that's something that you won't use against me.
Right.
And you won't use it to manipulate me as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also assume that men are willing to do all of these things because they're hypersexed and they're down for it. It's not necessarily true.
No.
So it is important to make sure you're not testing
The boundaries.
experiences.
Right.
Yeah. And what about because part of it, what if they're not comfortable with the conversation? So if you try to introduce that conversation and, talk about it, and they're just kind of, oh no,
Shut it down.
They shut it down.
I wouldn't force it, because sex is something that is so intimate, and people are vulnerable in the process unless there is something else going on with them. I've also worked with people where they've been violated and traumatized, where sex was like work. Okay, they just who was the lady in the movie The Color Purple? And I think one of the actresses quoted, "He just get on top of me and do his business."
Oh, that was Seeley.
Seeley, right. So they shut down, during sex. And sex is just something that they've been told that they have to do. Like even through religion, I've heard some people use, well, this is what the Bible or religion say that I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to do it this way, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But the conversation again has to be had, and be careful with forcing it. And maybe it's something where someone like, a friend, somebody that they trust, or a professional comes in and help with that dialogue.
So since we said this conversation is really, it's an intimate one, right? It's about sizzling. I'm just going to ask the question, because I know, somebody out there in radio land want to know the answer to this question.
Dealing with the same thing.
Is dealing with the same thing. Because I know lots of women that are interested in, or even men that are interested in anal play. And now I know the guys are like, ugh. But how do you approach that? Like if you have a partner that's asked you, for that type of play, how would you approach it? How do you, and if it's something that you're interested in that you want to bring up to your partner, because we know there's messages about a man's sexuality. And I don't think, for me personally, I don't think that it diminishes a man at all, because it's a scientific fact that a man can be, he can ejaculate through that anal stimulation, right? That's so, and so it only makes sense.
Prostate massage,
right.
Oh,
well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this prostate massage. So, what does that look like?
Work?
How does that work? And let's just deconstruct the anatomy of a prostate massage from beginning to end. Let's do that.
So, one conversation is important, and most men will tell you, "Look, that ain't it." That's another thing that don't turn me on, and they do relate it to homosexuality. Most heterosexual men relate it to homosexuality. And keep in mind, most people, including us, have been cultured and taught what and how we're supposed to have sex and how it feels good. But the good thing about you being you is that you're an expert on your own body. So if it feels good, I say do it. As long as it's between consenting adults,
trust.
Do it.
And it goes
do it.
back to the trust that knowing that it's not something that she's going to take and throw up against you.
Right.
And use it to
I'm going to go
jam.
back and tell so-and-so, and then there'll be this, then there's stigma attached to that.
Yeah.
But if you can get to that point and your male partner is comfortable with that, make sure it's important to have a lot of lube.
Right.
Okay. And you want to keep hygiene in mind. So sometimes, I recommend a enema before that process starts, because you have to be mindful of bacteria.
For the first time or something?
Especially for the first time, or maybe this person goes 3 or 4 times a day. Yeah.
Oh.
And I would, for me, I would recommend it all the time. And it makes sure it's with somebody that you trust again, because like I said, it's very intimate. And for most heterosexual men, they have to be very relaxed, very comfortable. I've heard some of them even talking about, having a few drinks, maybe popping a few pills, whatever it takes to relax.
That's what they do.
That's what they do. And once they are relaxed, and women, you have to make sure you're careful because you can't just ram your fingers up somebody's ass.
What do you think is the best position?
So it depends on him. For us, sometimes we get in these stirrups, especially during our exams, but it depends on whatever he's comfortable with. So ask him. That may require some exploration as well. Okay, does this way you on your back feel better? Maybe on your knees, maybe on your side. And I would suggest make sure you learn the male anatomy so you're not just up in the anal cavity missing the prostate. So make sure you know the body. Make sure you know what that is.
So where is the prostate? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just curious.
It's right there, and this is something you can YouTube, and that's the beauty of YouTube. So take our books, go to the library. There's plenty of books. There's plenty of information out there on the websites. All right. And it shows you how to, even with urologists will have YouTube videos on how to milk the prostate or massage the prostate, because that is actually how they collect semen examples.
Wow.
Semen samples when men come in and they need to test them.
Wow.
So they go in and they milk the prostate, and they show you how they do that. And then it's just a simple, if you guys can pull up a video,
I'm pulling it up right now.
and it's a simple massage. It doesn't take long because most men are very uncomfortable. They have either never had anyone to insert anything up there, or it's been a long time. Perfect. Here we go.
So let me ask this now.
You can click on whichever one.
Okay, and after you explain that, I have another question.
Okay.
I got questions. I told you I got questions.
Good questions are good. So you can see right here where. Let me turn it sideways. Yep. So this is a good anatomy picture of the male reproductive system and everything. And this little golden bulb right here is the prostate. So you see.
Oh, okay.
You guys see that?
Okay. Look, I'm like,
really?
I'm all in it. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's where you go. All right.
Yeah, right. So that's where they go. And the only way to get there to milk that is through the anus. You can't go through their urethra. Please don't try that. All right?
I'm sure that would be a disaster.
Yeah, that will shut down everything. But that's the way that you go in, and you have to be gentle when you insert.
You can't go straight up.
No.
You have to kind of.
You got to come in at an angle.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You got to come in at an angle, and
Yeah.
you give it a gentle rub. A gentle push, maybe some pressure. Allow your partner to tell you what feels good to them and what doesn't. So it's really important to listen.
Okay.
And make sure it's not something you can expedite the process. So be gentle. Especially if it's for women the first time we're having anal sex. We want somebody to be gentle with us because that could shut down the show as well.
And it could be traumatizing. Yeah.
It could be traumatizing because really it may start to feel like rape then at that point, especially if the partner doesn't stop. But that little golden bulb is where the prostate is. That's what releases the juice.
So she's last woman releases the juice.
Right.
So now let me ask this. So now we have talked, we've discussed in good detail about pleasing men through that process. Because I know there's a lot of women, we joke about it, but I know there's a lot of women that are curious. Because I think it's like a running joke, right? Because really men don't show us. They'll never show their friends the side of themselves that they show us.
No.
They're never going to do that. So although men may say women are tripping, no, we know what y'all don't talk about because, a man he's not intimate with his homeboys. He's intimate with his woman.
Right.
So we see these things and we know when they have these requests that are, on that edge. And I think it's helpful to know how to handle that.
True.
Right.
So now on the flip side, there's also conversations about, how a man can please a woman and particularly finding the G spot, right? So I know that there's a lot, like I mentioned, I was late, 38 when I found mine, definitely after my divorce. Right. Maybe I still be, no, I'm kidding. So maybe, but I'm just saying. So, how would you engage a toy like this? Like, what advice would you give a woman, right, in terms of instructing her man to help her find it? Because a lot of men feel like, well, don't you think I know how to find? It's not the same for every woman.
It's not, and I need for men to keep that in mind. What may please this sister here may not be the same.
If
thing
you stick your tongue in my ear, I'm gonna punch you in your gut.
See,
that's a wet willy, right? You're not gonna stick. Because I've had grown men stick their tongue in my ear, and I'm like, really?
But I don't know any woman that likes that.
No.
I'm sure there is a woman out there that likes that,
right? Yeah. But I mean,
I've never met her.
But
they always do it.
And they always do it, right? So please, y'all,
like
just whatever you do not think. Women are not a monolith. Each of us like to be explored in different ways.
Right.
One thing doesn't mean the same. Every guy thinks that, oh, well, if I see the nipples are hard, she's turned on. No, our nipples get hard when we get cold. Right. Our nipples get hard when the air hits it. It gets hard for a million reasons. So
I'm just on my period, and then everything is intense or sensitive.
Hormones.
Yes,
hormones.
Me having this scarf could brush across my nipple,
and then there it is.
Right.
Yeah,
right. So I think the important thing is to be open, right? Because I can tell you, out of all four of us in here, has anyone ever been with somebody that was willing to please us and willing to please us the way we want to be pleased, and we found a reason to not be satisfied with him sexually?
I know.
No.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, I know it's only four of us, but I think for the most part we can say, I don't think that really exists. So, and part of it is really learning how to observe her, right? Observe that particular woman.
Well, a lot of that is our fault, because we let them think they're doing a good job.
Yes.
We send them on their way. We don't tell them what we want.
Yeah, because
we say, is it over yet? And then they go to the next one like, oh, it worked for her. It's a good thing.
Right. And because it's almost like a script, because, you go to the questions. It's going to be one of those questions, because you get, you ready to have my baby? This is my pee. And, yes.
Oh, that's another thing. Stop telling them it is. It's yours.
Right, right.
Whose is it?
Right. Whose is
it's attached to my body.
The proper answer is mine.
I carry it around with me.
24/7.
I can't unscrew it and give it to you.
It's not yours.
And that's more so about their, not to say it's a bad thing for men, but it's really to kind of stroke their ego and their pride. And they feel like they've marked their territory, and that's another claim, and you admitting it. But I just want guys to know she can still go sleep with somebody else and say that it's yours.
It's hers.
It's hers.
It's hers.
Right. It's hers.
Yeah.
It's hers. Except. Okay, never mind. Because I was watching. I can't remember I think it was a Steve Harvey episode a couple of years ago, where a woman. I was going to say the same thing for men, but this woman, she was writing her name on her man's Johnson in a magic marker.
Oh my.
And what I said is, his side chick is bad. The reason why that bitch is bad, because what she did is she learned how to do right like his girl, like his wife. Yeah, so they writing that back on there. I mean, I'm just saying, who writes it on there, right? You can't, and I think that's part of it, right? If we just release some of that. So let's go back to this. Now, as safe for women, if a couple is using a toy like this, how would he find her G-spot? What ways would you suggest that he use an interesting toy like this?
It would be up to her to tell him where her G-spot is. This is something that you can also insert into the vagina. So pretend that this is a vagina. All right?
Wait, remember how we used to do that little...
Next one. But you insert into the vagina, and for each woman it's different. Usually the G-spot is right above.
Okay.
Here somewhere right before the uterus. Don't push this all the way to the cervix. And into
That's not attractive, y'all.
Yeah, and then it doesn't feel good. And that could be a situation in the ER. So I've also seen those too. I want people to be aware of that. So just be mindful, and it's good to have it well lubed. But if not, again, this is a material that's like really soft and pliable. But it's something that you would insert into the vagina and make sure you see how it's at an angle, so you're gentle when you're doing it. And when you turn it on, and she will tell you, okay, oh, that feels good right there. Wait a minute, go back some. Maybe turn it around to that side. especially if you have nothing but time and opportunity, take your time.
And you should only have time and opportunity. So if you're doing this yourself, then that's something that you can do for yourself. Kind of prop yourself, set the environment
first
for your set the mood for yourself, and then you find where it is according to how you just instructed us. Right.
You explore yourself because again, it's important that you're able to teach someone else, your partner, what feels good to you. You know yourself best. So it's okay to explore yourself first. And that way because we already know what doesn't feel good for the most part. Like you said, you don't like somebody sticking their tongue in your ear. I don't like my nipples being pinched, but some women do. My nipples are just really sensitive. That will shut down the show. Right. Okay, if you come in and pinch my nipples. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like pinching your balls. And it ain't going to feel good. Right. Yeah, don't do that to me. So it's really, really important that you explore first, and then you're able to bring this or add this into the play.
I know for me, how I was able to introduce the toys to my husband was I started it by myself. And he wasn't around. I was just using them. He's a truck driver. Okay. So I would use them by myself. So when he came home, I started using them in front of him. And he was like,
he loved them. I'm sure. Yeah.
What's that?
Right. Yeah. What man would not like that?
So that's kind of how, I got him into it. So when he watched me, he wanted to join me.
Right. And then actually,
and probably become aroused.
Right.
They become aroused, and then by watching you, it shows him.
Exactly.
Right. And maybe some men don't like it, right? Maybe some men feel that they should be the stimulus instead of a toy. So I can clean that part up. I get that. Yeah. But I think it is a good way because I do get requests, and I know for me personally, I'm not always comfortable with introducing that into a relationship because I think maybe it goes back to trust.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And you don't want someone to make you feel, or you don't want to be judged because you are finding something that you find so intimate that you're enjoying.
Right.
And there's no room for judgment during that time.
No.
If that's the case, I don't think you're mature enough to even have the conversation or handle the situation or be a part of anything.
Thank you.
And that's okay. If you're not there, just let her know or him know, look, I'm just not there, and it's not the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That is so true. So now let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about positions. Yeah. Because I know that, we're all, most of us over 40, right? And we get to
over 40.
Yeah. And we get to a place where, sex gets to be a little bit different, right? Sometimes, over 40, his back, maybe complaining, you're going to make me throw my back out. So you want to find ways that you can please each other, but all of it really shouldn't be on him, right? Because it does take a lot of stamina. So if you had some suggestions on how to incorporate toys and positions, so that, the woman, because at the same time, I don't want to be playing sit and spin.
Right.
Because he been watching porn. Them chicks is getting paid about 12 bands to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm just your girlfriend.
Right. That's her job.
That's her job.
There's no real intimacy there. That's
right.
her job.
Right.
You don't know about it, but no.
Right. Right. So what are some ways what are some things that you would suggest that would kind of make using toys easier? What do you have?
Well, sometimes sex is like a triathlon. It's an athletic event, So the older you get, your body. If you have to icy hot down the day before, hours before,
after,
taking your vitamin E oil or whatever it is you need to do to prepare.
Show up with your Red Bull.
Okay, with your Red Bull and then some. Okay. And your Viagra or whatever else it is that you need. And we're going to talk about that next week, hopefully, as well as the female Viagra. Because
female Viagra.
Oh, yes. There's a few out there called the Pussycat and a few other things.
Oh man.
Heck.
I don't think I need anything like that.
I don't
need nothing like that.
Like your clitoris and your vagina look swole.
Oh, my God.
It takes nothing to get it going. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But whatever it takes that you need to show up so you're ready. And recovery is important.
Recovery.
So it may require some rest afterwards. Or maybe you're having an intimate moment where it's all relaxed and it's not that athletic event. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just go with the move, but just to prepare for the thrown out backs and the bad knees and the bad hips and everything, make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's going to be key. If you need pain relievers, take pain relievers. Get creative. That's the beautiful thing. Like, there's more than one position.
You know, what about that furniture? That sex furniture looks so interesting.
It is, because especially if you have the right fixtures in your house, it puts you in, especially the swing, it puts you in a comfortable position where really the swing thrusts you into him, so he doesn't have to do as much thrusting, and neither does you.
Well, see, yeah, I ain't putting my big ass on those.
I'm sorry. No, that's the beauty
I
of
mean,
it.
but
That's that trust thing we talked about. Do you trust the swing?
I don't trust the swing. I don't trust him.
Well, fortunately, there are some places, even in Atlanta, that you can go. It might be, I think you rent the room for $20, $25 an hour and up, where you and your partner can go in there, and it's very clean, and you utilize these apparatus, and you can experiment
before you buy and put something like that in your house.
Before you go purchase, and you start making all these adjustments in your house and everything.
Now, that sounds like a really good, like for a couple that wants to expand and explore. That sounds like a really good option.
And it's a safe space. So, you know, if you find an area like that, you want to make sure that it's clean and it's a safe space.
Yeah. So, that is so interesting. Wow. Okay. So I think I'm learning some things. Before I go on, because I know I'm the host and I'm leading questions, but I really want to create space for anybody to ask questions. And I know, Kisha, you have to go soon, but really, do you have something that's burning? I'm just so fascinated with this. I want to find out what this retails for, too. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, I know, right? I was expecting to have like the whole thing laid out, man. Yeah, so do you have anything?
Well, my one question was, how much does this retail for?
Okay, well, she's going to answer that.
So this one, you know, here's what I want women and people to know. You pay for what you get.
Right.
So these can run anywhere from $40 up to $250, depending on the style, the type, the durability, the warranty.
What about this one in particular?
This one was $40.
Okay.
So this one's around $40. Yeah. I have another one at home. I wouldn't bring that one because it's my personal fave. And it's two bullets. It's called a double bullet, and I'm sure people know a lot about that.
I don't actually.
Okay, well I'll make sure I bring that next Sunday then.
But you can get talk.
Yeah, you know what? I have a picture of it.
Right, she
here.
gets this because I mean this is sex education. Yeah. This is not like sex education in school. This is come on now.
So
it's got a wait a minute.
So this is a good picture.
That's a good picture.
Yeah, I'll turn it this way. So I'll show it to you ladies first. Now these sleeves come off.
Oh,
right. We're like,
so you don't need the pricklies.
No, you don't.
But
you can use the pricklies. All right.
But again, that's the importance of exploring by yourself first. So these sleeves, these are called sleeves, the little prickly sleeves, they can come off, and then you just have these shiny little bullets, and they call bullets. And actually, this is what we call double bullets, and then they have single bullets. I would suggest the single bullets for beginners. Right? Slow walk yourself.
For the rookies.
So now, does that go all the way in the bullet?
So the beautiful thing about the bullet is it can go all the way in as much as you like, either into the vagina or the anus. You can use it with your partner. It can be one bullet could be used on your clitoris, where maybe you may be massaging his testicles with it. Right, and it can cause. I know for a lot of women, including myself, it doesn't take long for me to orgasm with this, and it goes up pretty high, kind of like this. It actually has higher speeds than this one. So. This isn't something you can do while driving. You know, they have some that are portable, and some women use them before they go to work, on the way home, on the way to the baseball game, football, wherever.
On that rush hour Atlanta traffic.
Yeah. And they actually have a charger, so you can charge it in your car and have an orgasm while you're sitting out on 85.
You know, that just adds a whole nother perspective to multitasking for me. You know, I saw a video. Somebody posted a video the other day of a woman with a personal massager board. What do you call it? You know, the hoverboard?
Yeah.
And it has a dildo that goes up and down while you're riding it. And she's riding in the street with dildo going up and down.
Real.
Wow.
What the what? And she's just smiling.
Yeah.
Happy as she could be.
Happy.
Right, but I mean, I just couldn't be that,
bold or bad. Yeah, and that may not be something for you.
No.
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
I'm not prepared for that.
No. And that's a process.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a process within itself, but no judgment. Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
I know that just totally threw you off.
Yeah.
So now,
Oh, that's nice.
those look very nice.
Yep. So these are. I'm sorry. And they have different speeds and whatnot, and one could be used for your clitoris, and the other one could be used for your vagina. So because this one is longer than the small bullet right here. Mm-hmm. And again, I can't stress enough to make sure you keep your products clean.
Soap and water,
or any type of soft baby wipe. You know, one that's hyperallergenic. You don't need anything, no harsh chemicals. So don't bleach it. Don't do any of that. And if you feel like it's that dirty, or you need to bleach it, throw it away. Throw it away. Because really you begin to destroy the material
when you put some chemicals like that. Yeah.
And store it in like a safe space, or if you have like a special bag or little sack you want to put it in Ziplocs is good before you put it back in the box. And the only thing I would say about Ziploc bags, make sure it's dry.
Right, because then it can
it'll soften and it'll soften it up to the point where it's no longer durable or it's lost its efficacy. Mm-hmm. So that's something you want to keep in mind. But there's so much. That's the beauty of going into these stores. There's so much to explore. They actually have dolls. I've heard when I go to the store, a heterosexual couple will pull in a doll, and these dolls have like real breast and what feels like a real vagina. And that's a way for you to, because I guess threesomes be something we talk about next too, to bring in a third person without really bringing in a third person or male.
Oh boy,
yeah. There's a whole world out there.
It is, and I know, and I just paused because it is. Apparently, it's. I always tell people Atlanta is. It's like another country. It's different from the rest of the United States.
On certain corners.
Right.
Right, and because I know pretty much, the majority of guys, a lot of men I've dated, they've always asked for threesomes, and I've never had one.
Right.
But I guess I don't understand that's a thing. Apparently it is a real, so I mean, I think part of this is really having a conversation, because I think that, I always say it's the cheating capital, but I think at the end of the day, there are people that have needs, they have their wants, and that they don't even share with their intimate partners.
Right.
Or when they do, they're rejected. Mm-hmm. But those those needs are powerful. Those desires are powerful. They don't go away. They step
do
out.
not go away. And as a matter of fact, what they do is they manifest.
Yes.
They manifest and they step outside of the relationship to get that.
Yes, you need to create a space for it.
Needs met. So I need for everyone to really understand that. And it's not that you're accountable for this person's needs or the other person's need, but just know that it's natural for people to get their needs met.
And if you want, particularly if you want to spend the rest of your life, if you have said, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person, I know that there's a place where I'm comfortable and a place where I'm not comfortable. And I think rather than rejecting it, it is worth having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's worth having a conversation, because you never know until you explore. And again, that might, but the other flip side of that is, I think that at least as black women, right? CDC says 1 in 3 of us have been victims of sexual trauma. Mm-hmm. So I think that men have to keep that into consideration. So when they do want to explore, I think they have the tendency to be a little rough. Yes. They maybe watch a little bit too much porn. Mm-hmm. They want to, and they don't understand that they're re-traumatizing her, and she's going to reject those desires. Yeah. So maybe there's a way, if you're having real conversation, that you can inject that in there, and that's hence the need for people like you that can help people in the relationships.
And I want to, just reiterate what you said about porn. For a lot of males, and especially younger males, they've been exposed to porn at a young age. Therefore, they think what they see is that's how you're supposed to sexually please a woman. Exactly. That's how you're supposed to treat her. Please don't allow that to be the only teaching tool for your young men and for your man.
Right.
It's, a conversation that I have now. I have a 21-year-old and I have a 15-year-old, and we talk. I have very candid conversations with them about definitely about. How to treat women, but even when it comes to sexually satisfying women. And we just have, my conversations with my kids may be too liberal for some people, but if I don't teach them,
exactly,
the streets will teach them.
They will find out.
A reliable source, and then your kids don't learn to be satisfied. So I'm responsible for teaching them that.
I agree.
Yeah. And I know because I'll just, take another moment here and say, I know at least for a lot of times I've experienced where men, they believe it's like that pounding sex. Like you see in those videos. Like it's like they don't understand, and it creates a problem because they feel like they should.
Well, a lot of times it's a trauma release for them. They're not even really focusing on what they're doing to the woman.
But they think that's damage. Like
it can cause damage
to the ERs because this guy, especially if you got a gut, it is not okay to pound the person that's on the bottom. That's beneath you. It doesn't feel good. Right. And actually, a lot of women complain of being nauseated afterwards.
Pain.
A lot of pain.
Abdominal pain for days. Bleeding. It can last up into a week because they think that it's an attractive thing. They think that but you're not really understanding that, it's still fragile, right? Babies may come out of there, but that doesn't mean that you're supposed to be touching our cervix during sex because that can be very painful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be very painful.
Oh, that's not the goal. You haven't hit the gold star because if your penis is long enough to even touch my cervix, it doesn't necessarily feel good.
No.
Everybody doesn't want all that size.
Yeah. Right. And your penis doesn't need to be going any further past there and into that. That's not what that's for. Actually, you increase the chances of a lot of infections.
Infection, yes.
Do that. So there's dangers to that. So there's so many things that's not taught. That's why it's important not to allow porn to be your teacher.
Sex, and I know. That is such a really great point about porn. And I think that in itself is a whole nother show, a whole nother topic to explore. So we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to wrap up today's show. I hope you enjoyed us. Listen, if you have questions, if you're interested in any of the things we talked about, comment on the post your questions because we're going to talk about it again next week. I'm going to invite you, post your questions. We'll answer your questions on air, and we'll do it anonymously so you don't have to worry about that. Tune in every Sunday at 3 o'clock. You can find us on Facebook at OfficialDofD, or you can join our Facebook community at OfficialDofD.com. I invite you to come back next week for some great dynamic dialogue. Come get some.